Now I am moving to the another interesting aspect. We said section 13, and under what circumstances exemption will not be there. See, if your trust is a private religious trust, then entire income of the property held under a trust for a private religious purpose which does not endure or ensure the benefit to the public is not eligible for exemption. So if you are a private religious trust, your income will not be entitled for exemption. Or if you started a trust for the benefit of a particular religion, caste or community, also it will not be allowed to have the exemption. Of course friends, यदि आप एक ट्रस्ट for the benefit of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, backward classes, children or women, if you are going to keep, then such a trust can get the exemption. But you can't have Vaishya Sangham, Brahmin Sangham, Reddy Sangham, Kamma Sangham, ऐसा बोल के caste के ऊपर, in case if you start a trust, such a trust, I am not saying that you should not start it, but don't expect the exemption to happen. Then income for the benefit of a specified persons, if you are keeping a trust, then also it will not be given exemption. Then if funds are not invested as per section 11(5), then also exemption can well get withdrawn. These are the circumstances when section 11 will not be applicable. Just make gist points, right? Section 11 not apply in certain cases. Number 1, income of private religious trust. Then number 2, income of entity established for the benefit of particular religion oblique community oblique caste. Exception: exemption is allowed for entities established for the benefit of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, backward classes, children, woman. Then third is income for the benefit of specified persons referred in 13.3. Then if accumulated, fourth point, if accumulated funds are not invested if accumulated funds are not invested in modes specified under section 11.5, in the modes specified under section 11.5. Now you should love to understand who are those specified persons under section 13.3. I am not making it right, please remember. The author of a trust or the founder of the institution. Second is a person who has made substantial contribution, that is 50,000 rupees or exceeding 50,000 rupees. Where such author or the founder or a substantial contributor is a HUF, then any member of the HUF, then any trustee or the trust manager, any relative of the author, founder, substantial contributor, member or a trustee or the manager of the trust, or any concern where these people have got substantial interest, these people we call it them as a specified persons. And if any trusts are established for the benefit of these specified persons, then such trust cannot get exemption. Such a benefit could be a direct benefit or a indirect benefit. Then 13.2, see, when you say income is used for the benefit of a specified person, क्या करने से law will say that income is applied or used for the benefit of a specified person. See, you are lending the money, trust is lending the money to that specified persons. We are not saying that don't lend, but if you are lending without adequate security or adequate interest or both, यही दूसरों को दिए तो सिक्योरिटी लेके देते नहीं देते, लेके ही देते. Similarly, will you charge the interest or not? I'll charge. So if you don't do the same at arm length price with a specified person, exemption gets withdrawn. Similarly, if a property is let out, and if it is not let out at adequate rent, similarly, if you are employing those people and paying salaries in excess of a reasonable amount, and if you are providing services to those people and those services are provided for inadequate consideration or remuneration, similarly, if you are transferring the property for inadequate consideration to those people, in all these situations, friends, please to remember, exemption gets withdrawn as a point. See, what we say is, there is a beautiful section 13.6 which discusses about denial of exemption under section 11. What it reads: notwithstanding anything contained in section 13.1, 13.2, but without prejudice to the provisions of section 12.2, in case of a charitable religious trust running an educational institution or a medical institution or a hospital, the exemption under section 11 and 12 shall not be denied in relation to any income other than the income referred to in section 12.2. What is 12.2? Already we have studied. That is, in case if that trust which is running an educational institution or a hospital renders services to the specified persons without taking anything, then the value of such service shall become taxable, notwithstanding the fact that it is an exempted institution. But other incomes of such trust can well claim the exemption is a point. This is one aspect you have to. Then comes the point of, let us suppose income of a trust is going to become chargeable to the tax. Then at what rate it gets taxed? At what rate it gets taxed is the point. what we say, it gets taxed at a maximum marginal rate. So here, how to charge it to the tax? What we say, in the following cases, income of a charitable trust to the extent not exempted under section 11 and 12 shall be chargeable to the tax as if that trust is an individual. By treating it as an individual, how individual's income is going to get taxed, in the same way it gets taxed. Of course, in some circumstances at a maximum marginal rate. What are those circumstances under which it gets taxed at maximum marginal rate? Also we will discuss. That is, first you write down this point. If income of charitable or religious trust, if income of charitable or a religious trust is to be taxed, then it is chargeable to the tax, as if such a trust is an individual, Now, exception. What is the exception? Income gets taxed at a maximum marginal rate. Income gets taxed at a maximum marginal rate when exemption gets withdrawn. In the following circumstances. A, income applied for private religious purpose, Number 2, income applied for the benefit of particular religious community oblique specified persons. Then the next point is, funds are not invested, or accumulated funds are not invested in modes specified under section 11.5, Next, anonymous donations. Now I am coming to the definition of charitable purpose. 2 clause 15. What does this definition says? What is charitable purpose? Charitable purpose includes relief to the poor, education, medical relief, and advancement of any other object of general public utility. Of course, here a proviso is there which says, provided that advancement of any other object of general public utility shall not be a charitable purpose if it involves carrying out any activity in the nature of a trade, commerce or business, or any activity of rendering of services in relation to trade, commerce or a business for a cess or fee or for any other consideration, irrespective of the nature of use, application or accumulation, is a point. So this definition is a very simple definition. What is the simplicity of it? Charitable purpose is an inclusive definition which says relief to the poor, education, medical relief, and advancement of any other object of general public utility, provided if in the name of providing or advancement of general public utility, if you carry out a business or if you render a service to carry out a business by collecting some fees or cess, then to the extent of that it is not a charitable purpose. Hope as students you are all clear with this particular definition. Only thing that I would like to ask you to write this, for the simple reason there is a small amendment. Of course, only to the extent of the amendment I will make you to write. Friends, we have recently, not today, by the Finance Act of 2010, it is stated that preservation of environment, including watersheds, forests and wildlife, if you are into it, or preservation of monuments, Hyderabad में क्या monuments है? गोलकोंडा, चार मीनार, ऐसा है. In order to preserve such kind of monuments or places or objects of artistic and historical interest, then that also amounts to the charitable activity. See, we say that you cannot carry out commercial activity. Of course, exception is what? In 11(4)A we have. You can carry out a business activity as long as such a business is incidental to the objectives of the trust and you maintain separate set of books of accounts. Other than that, other businesses which are not incidental to your objects is being addressed here. Of course, you can still do business which is not incidental to the objectives of your trust, as long as the aggregate value of the receipt from the said commercial activities is 25 lakhs or less than 25 lakhs. Earlier this used to be 10 lakhs, now they have increased this amount to the 25 lakhs. A small note you write, that is, number 1, preservation of environment, comma, preservation of monuments, or places or objects of artistic or historical interest, also amounts to charitable purpose, Then point number 2, in order to attain advancement of any other object, of a general public utility, if commercial activity not incidental to the objectives of the trust is carried out, then as long as the aggregate value of the receipts, from activities from commercial activities is 25 lakhs or less, exemption will be given. And if receipts are exceeding 25 lakhs, then exemption will not be given, as such activities are excluded from charitable purpose. Now I say anonymous donations. Friends, anonymous donations is one important thing from the examination point of view that made me to ask you to write. Other way around, when you write, my hands gets pained. First try to understand. We will discuss it, then you can write. What is anonymous donation? Any voluntary contribution where a person receiving such contribution does not maintain the record of identity indicating the name, address of the person making such contribution and such other particulars as may be prescribed is a point. So anonymous donations, they get taxed and at a maximum marginal rate. But there are some situations when anonymous donations will not get taxed. When such donations are received by any trust or institution established wholly for religious purpose, that is, trust is owning a temple and offerings or donations made by the devotees shall not be taxable under this section even if the names, address of the donors are not there. So such a donation shall be subjected to the provisions of section 11 and 12, gets exemption. Whereas if such donations is received by a trust or institution established wholly for religious and charitable purpose, then with a specific direction that particular donation is coming, and if such kind of specific direction donation does not contain the names, then definitely you are at a mistake. See, somebody just coming and putting in the hundi is different issue. Somebody comes to you and tells what is the purpose of it, and if you don't maintain it, the particulars and all, then it is to be taxed. See, point here is, here a beautiful example I can discuss with you. A trust owns a temple and a school. क्या है? एक गुड़ी और दूसरा बड़ी. एक टेम्पल and एक school. Separate donation boxes are kept. in the temple and the school. Now anonymous donations received in the donation box of the school are taxable. Anonymous donations received in the donation box of the temple are not taxable under this particular section. Two donation boxes are kept in the temple itself. In the first situation आपको मालूम हुआ, टेम्पल में एक बॉक्स है, स्कूल में एक बॉक्स है. टेम्पल बॉक्स में जो आ रहा वो एनोनिमस डोनेशंस को टैक्स नहीं लगता. स्कूल बॉक्स में जो आ रहा उसमें तो लगता. अब दोनों बॉक्सेस लाके हम टेम्पल में लगा दिए, तब क्या होगा? One is marked for temple and other is marked for the school. Anonymous donations received in school box are taxable. Anonymous donations received in the temple box are not taxable. See friends, anonymous donations received by a trust wholly for charitable purpose are taxable under section 115 BBC. So finally, to conclude about the whole lot of anonymous donations, just make a writing so that you can actively feel it, because ultimately tomorrow you have to write anonymous donations under section 115 BBC, under section 115 BBC. क्या है दोस्त? First, anonymous donation means any voluntary contribution where a person receiving such contribution does not maintain a record of the identity indicating A, name, B, address, C, such other particulars as may be specified. So write a box, on one head, on one column you write particulars, on the another column taxability. In the particulars column, first, wholly charitable purpose, wholly charitable trust. Then in the taxation column, anonymous donations are to be taxed. Under section 115 BBC. Under section 115 BBC. Anonymous donations are taxed under section 115 BBC. Next point, wholly religious trust. There anonymous donations not to be taxed. Anonymous donations not to be taxed under section 115 BBC. Then third is wholly charitable and religious. Anonymous donations are not taxable. however, this however is most important. From this however you underline it. However, if donations made with a specific direction, that such donation is for any educational institution, oblique hospital, oblique medical institution, run by such trust, oblique institution. And one more important thing and noteworthy thing is, despite of saying all this, still we allow anonymous donations to get exemption, because इतना बड़ा चैरिटेबल एक्टिविटी करे टाइम पे, humanly it is not possible to have 100% details. थोड़ा बहुत तो रिलैक्सेशन देना ही पड़ेगा. तो रिलैक्सेशन क्या है, लिख लो. दैट इज एनोनिमस. नोट, एनोनिमस डोनेशन is not taxable, to the extent of 5% of total donations received by the SSC, or rupees 1 lakh, whichever is higher. Just listen the example, we will discuss on it. Let us suppose anonymous donations is 6 lakhs, other donations are 3 lakhs. Put together कितना दोस्तों, 6 plus 3 9 lakhs. उसमें 5% बोले तो कितना, 9 lakhs के ऊपर 5% कितना, 45,000. Isn't it or not? Or rupees 1 lakh, whichever is higher. तो 1 lakh तक तो exemption दे सकते. So to your anonymous donations are how much, 6 lakhs. Out of that 1 lakh gets exempted, remaining 5 lakhs becomes taxable. Let us suppose in another example, 2,50,000 is your anonymous donation, 60 lakhs is your other donations. Put together is how much, 62,50,000. 5% of 62,50,000 is how much? How much? 5% of your 62,50,000 is how much? Or rupees 1 lakh, whichever is higher. How much? 3. But in any case, exemption cannot exceed the amount. So that's the reason why 2,50,000 only. 10 lakhs is your anonymous donation and 70 lakhs is your other donations. Put together 80 lakhs. 80 lakhs के ऊपर 5% कितना है दोस्तों? 4 lakhs. Good answer. And 4 lakhs or 1 lakh, whichever is higher. Which is higher? 4 lakhs. तो पूरा 10 लाख में से 4 लाख निकाल के 6 लाख को आप टैक्सेबल में ला लेना. Last, 30,000 is your anonymous donation, 7,50,000 is your other donations. Put together is 7,80,000. 7,80,000 के ऊपर 5% कितना? बहुत ज्यादा होता. Is it the answer? 35,000 plus something. In any case, it can't exceed the amount which we want to give the exemption. So 30,000 anonymous donation gets exempted. That is all about. One thing, all this exercise I made you to do in the classroom itself for the simple reason you have to remember that point, that necessarily the exemption is for anonymous donations. 5% of such total donations, not anonymous donation, 5% of the total donations or rupees 1 lakh, whichever is higher. And in any case, exemption cannot exceed the amount which it sought to exempt. These are the important aspects with respect to the charitable trust taxation. And in the session to follow, we have to take up with the topic that is our students' beloved topic is previous examination questions and the discussion on it. In fact, we are thinking of a module. Which module I am saying that? 2020 module. What is that 2020 module? Don't listen my whole lot of 120 hours of the lecture. You are already good at the subject. You only want previous examination questions to be discussed at large and high yielding points. Then my whole lecture content with respect to the previous examination questions cannot exceed 40 hours. So we are going to come with a beautiful advertisement. One day wonder, 2-day wonder. Listen our 40 hours of previous examination questions. 40 marks minimum guarantee program. Okay friends, only thing I would like to tell you is some of the students might be listening these video classes after attempting for 1 or 2 attempts. There is nothing that greatly you have to understand the concepts. You should only know the high yielding aspects. There I am saying, if time does not permit you to listen the entire content, at least don't miss to listen the previous examination questions, because religiously and very sincerely we are doing that discussion on the previous examination questions. Thank you.